7:37. Good morning to you watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie.
And let's have a look at today's front pages for you. And the Express leads with Boris Johnson saying Rishi's deal will not take back control.
The Eye says MI5's missed chance to stop the Manchester Arena bomber.
The Mirror says teachers were heroes during the pandemic. How dare Hancock and Williamson ridicule them?
And The Guardian has Tory anger as Labour hires the Partygate official.
Okay, let's get stuck into some more of today's headline with Liz Kershaw and Andrew Barkley, who've been brilliant all morning. They're going to continue to be.
Well, I said,
sure.
now, but I've got a bone to pick with David. Morning, David, who says, am I the only one to have noticed that Stephen's accent gets more pronounced during the pay-per-view? Is he trying to impress our northern Liz Kershaw? I'm much more northern than Liz Kershaw, I'll have you know. She's a southerner to me, aren't you?
Yeah, you're Cumbria and I'm Lancashire, so geographically you're more northern than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when we get together, you know, off-screen, it all comes out, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Do you feel like your northernness comes out more when you're together, merges?
Yeah, we were in a cafe the other day and he says, hey up, where's me butty?
I will say that.
Oh, can we say hello to that lovely couple? Shall we say hello? I don't know their names.
Get stopped by a lovely couple.
Well, we were sitting at the table and we'd been gossiping. Goodness knows what they overheard. And then they stood up and they came over and said they loved us on GBNEWS together, didn't they?
Well, they did.
And we went, oh,
thanks very much.
Oh,
actually, Stephen said, tar love.
Tar love.
Tar love.
I was drinking a cup of tea at the time.
Yeah.
So, but no, so thank you both. They were very good. Didn't say who they were. They were just in and out, but it was very nice.
Yeah.
I love it when people say hello.
Yeah, it's nice when that happens. Very nice.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, Liz, should we start with you? Because this would be me now. I ran to the loo in that ad break and I came back and I was huffing and puffing, wasn't I?
It was terrible.
It was terrible.
So unfair.
It's very embarrassing.
But at least you're not a police officer.
Exactly.
No, there are a few stories today that are linked, so I can't do them all. But, for instance, one story in one of the papers says that in 30 years' time, 50% of the world's adult population will be obese.
Yeah.
There's another one that says that if you want to walk off a pint of beer, you have to do 5,000 steps. Is it worth it? But this one, do you remember the pictures? One of them actually made me cry. I remember on the coverage of 9/11 when the New York Fire Department guys were walking up all the stairs in the Twin Towers, and the cameras were. People took pictures of them walking up with all the kit on the back, and you think, how the hell did you do that? Not unless you're extremely fit. Anyway, in New York, they're having trouble recruiting police. So they've scrapped the basic fitness test. Now, I know this will be of interest to you because your husband has to be super fit. Or did to be accepted in the army. But now in New York they've scrapped the rule, this running test where officers had to be able to cover 1.5 miles in 14 minutes and 21 seconds, and they've scrapped it because they can't recruit people.
14 minutes and 21 seconds for a mile?
1.5 miles, yeah. That's 4 miles an hour, isn't it? Well, I walk at 4. When I go out walking, I walk at 4 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's not too
Anyway, it's been defended, this scrapping of the rule, by the head of training at New York NYPD. No cop on patrol ever needs to run 1.5 miles, she told the New York Post. I just thought a modicum of fitness. You can't sit round in diners all day eating donuts, can you?
No. But well, you're going to need to chase people, aren't you? I mean, that's essentially what it comes down to.
Well, it seems like they've just given up because, you know, the world is getting fatter, so in order to fill the quotas of police officers, they can't stipulate that kind of thing. No,
I don't know. You don't want. It's a difficult one, but I do think we should be trying to encourage people to be fitter. I mean, I'm back on the diet and all that, so we've got to work at it. None of it comes easy. I have to say, everybody, I took Stephen out for cake and he refused to eat it.
Really?
Because his body is a temple.
Temple.
What did you have instead?
Cup of tea.
Oh, very good.
It was a real cheap deal for me.
It was a cheap deal
It was a cheap date.
Well, in the Mirror is the headline of the day, Planet of the Vapes, Andrew.
Yes, so the Mirror investigation found millions of disposable little plastic vapes being dumped every week across towns and countryside, which, if you're an environmentalist, is concerning because of the threat to wildlife and sea life and birds, but also cats and dogs, so pets who eat them and have resulted in reports of several deaths. And so I think that these have obviously boomed in popularity amongst sort of 18-year-olds because of the fruity style flavours. But I think that the government need to sort of get on top of it and think about, how is this going to be regulated? I mean, you can't stop people polluting regardless of regulation. That's always
but you could get rid of the single-use, the disposable ones.
Yeah, and I think from a health perspective as well. I mean, these are, some of these vapes are sort of quite untested, and in the US they've regulated a lot of the flavours that actually showed young kids who didn't smoke actually starting to vape, as opposed to trying to get people off smoking into vaping. So I think we're behind the curve on that. No surprises there.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're a great thing for getting people off cigarettes, but you don't want people just to start the hell of vaping.
Yeah.
No.
And there are a lot of young kids and teenagers vaping.
I mean, it's sort of bubblegum flavours and all these sort of flavours that don't necessarily appeal to old smokers, but really appeal to sort of 17, 18-year-olds who are...
Yeah. No, fair point. Liz, in the Telegraph, this Ken Bruce row is rumbling on, isn't it?
Well, it's sort of the big climax and end of it today, in a way, because he's walking out of Wogan House, Radio 2.
It's his last show today.
Last time in 31 years. It's a bit premature because he expected to carry on till the end of his contract at the end of March. But BBC bosses called him in at 12:30 last Friday after his show ended and said, sorry, Ken, we'll give you another 5 shows next week and then ta-ra. And I just think...
Do we still know why?
We don't know why the BBC decided to do that. It's really shabby. And anyway, the point is Simon Mayo as another radio veteran. We started at the same time on Radio 1 in 1987, and he's now waded in and said it was handled very badly. It's just that somebody who's given 31 years to any organisation in the shop window, I think deserves more respect and gratitude and to be treated better. Why did they do it, Radio 2? I can only assume that this was getting so much publicity, the fact that Ken was being ousted at 71. Whether you believe it or not, he was actually sacked, or he just decided he'd better get another job, because Radio 2 bosses admitted we forgot to tell him we were renewing his contract, and he'd seen what happened to Steve Wright and he got nervous, so he was proactive about it. Whatever story is the correct one, the fact is that it's just another example of ineptitude, and I know that this is going to be discussed in full later today on GB News on the Andrew Pearce show, because they asked me to go on. But
you see, you're not going on now, though, are you?
No.
Maybe they've dropped it.
No, I'm not going on for other reasons.
No, but they might have dropped the segment now.
All right, okay. Anyway, the whole thing is just badly handled, bad PR, but the reality is that Ken Bruce will be taking himself and Popmaster, which millions deliberately tuned into. I've done it myself at 10:30 in the car. Oh, it's Popmaster time. We'll be taking it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it's a loss for the licence payer.
Well, good for him, though.
Yeah, got all the best, Ken.
Yeah.
Andrew, should we have a look at the Express now? And Boris, perhaps not surprisingly, critical of Rishi's deal, the Windsor framework.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the breaking news: the Pope is Catholic. It's not surprising. It's not surprising at all, considering their history. Having said that, if you are a Brexit believer or hardliner, he has a point, which is that it's not absolute sovereignty that this deal is delivering. Having said that, everyone from Steve Baker to Peter Mandelson is sort of getting behind it. It's an improvement on what the hand he was dealt. It makes the protocol easier to operate, and I think that this is largely sort of political posturing within the Conservative Party. It's probably going to go through, and it's as expected, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's very difficult just looking in on it. It's very difficult to know if it's a better deal, a worse deal compared to what Boris Johnson wanted in the bill that's now been dropped. It's so confusing.
I think Brexit fatigue has a bit to play in it, and I think even Brexit fatigue, not just from the public, but even in Westminster. I think a lot of people are just turning a blind eye to the actual detail just because they want to get on with it now.
Yeah.
Put it to bed.
And ERG and DUP still looking at the details.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know yet what they think.
Yeah.
All of
No.
this. Yeah.
We don't.
Steve Baker's behind it, who was head of the ERG, so that's
Yeah.
symbolic.
Could pull a lot of people on side.
yeah.
I don't see any resolution to this problem ever while the two sides are so entrenched. You know, the Catholic Republicans and the Protestant Unionists, neither of them fundamentally will ever shift on what their vision is for Ireland.
No, on that front, no. I would agree.
I'm an optimist.
You are. Well, in terms of Ken Bruce, Liz, if you could leave the studio now, and, we may or may not let you back. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank
It's been
you.
good to see you this morning.